The iPhone 15 Pro Max has already been out for a week, and this isn't one of those videos where I'm going to read you specs because you know that already, but in the last 7 days, we've heard about that titanium scratching easily, the phone being so hot you can barely touch it, and the back glass smashing with the slightest of taps. And we're still in that honeymoon period where everything this phone does is really good. And so far for me, I have to say it actually has been really good. The 15 Pro Max I've really enjoyed using. Some people have had some problems with their iPhone 15 Pro Maxes, but for me so far it's just been plain sailing. It's just been really good. For me, doing everyday tasks like Twitter and YouTube and calls has just been fine. And that phone is been bearable. It's not been hot. It's actually been alright. The only times the phone's got slightly hot was in that initial setup, and then when I tried uploading a video to YouTube on a 6-hour coach to Wales. But that's about it. And besides that, there have been no heat issues for me at all. And maybe I'm just one of the lucky ones with this, but so far it is so good. There is something though that I really enjoy on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I think it's probably the biggest upgrade from last year's 14 Pro Maxes. And it's not an action button, it's not USB-C, it's the fact that they've got rid of that stainless steel. Swapping that stainless steel for titanium is such a win, and it just feels so much lighter when you're using the phone, and it's weirdly really noticeable. I had a friend hold the 15 Pro Max up yesterday, and the first thing they noticed and said to me was how light it was, and they were like, are you not scared it might fall or whatever, because they have a 14 Pro Max, and that's just a regular phone user, and they just noticed that big weight difference from that stainless steel over to the new titanium. And we have to mention as well, that titanium on the side of the phone feels really nice. I've got the white version, as you can see, and there's no fingerprints, there's no smudges, there's no anything. It just looks so much better than stainless steel. The second thing that I keep noticing is swapping out those harsh square sides of the phone for those slightly curved sides have made such a huge difference as well. I don't really use a case at all, so this is a really noticeable change. It might not sound like it is, but it sits much more comfortably when you're holding it, and it just doesn't dig in as much as last year's Pro phones. And I didn't even realize that I didn't like the squared off stainless steel finish of the 14 Pro Max last year. I just thought that, you know what, it looks quite good. But when they've swapped it out, moved it to titanium, rounded those edges, I've realized that the 14 Pro Max's squared off sides was such a bad move, and this is so much better. If you use a case, then you're not going to ever notice about those curved edges, but it's the one thing that every time I pick up the phone, I notice. So for me, that is up there with the biggest and the best change on the 15 Pro Max. There was one big thing that I was looking for when I picked up the 15 Pro Max, and that was to just have better battery life than the 14 Pro Max last year. Now, the 14 Pro Max for me was horrific. It was so bad where I knew that getting to the end of the day, I could run out of battery. But I was just hoping that the 15 Pro Max even had an hour's better battery life. And so far, the battery life on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really good, I think. So I haven't spent loads of time on the phone in the past week, but you can see the screenshots of that battery over the last 7 days, and it's been around 6 and 7 hours of screen on time, and that's still giving me battery left by the time I need to charge it at the end of the day. And this is such a small win, but for me, it's a huge win, because I was so sick of the battery running out quickly last year, and in the first week, it seems like I don't really have to worry about charging the phone. I can just do what I need to do, and it'll get me to an end of a day with more battery life than I need. So far, I've not been able to get below 20% on a single day. And the big new hardware feature on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is, of course, that action button. And you know what? As much of a big feature that it is on the new phones, it's something that already I've kind of just let go by the wayside. The wayside? I don't use it as much as I thought I would. In the first couple of days, I've gone to play with the slider and move it back and forward because it was like my fidget spinner. But as soon as I figured out that it's not there anymore, I just haven't touched it. I've set up Do Not Disturb, which is nice, so I don't really have to go into that control center and toggle it on when I'm busy. but I haven't really even tried using it for anything else. Except for one thing, that I mapped the action button to open an app at a work event because I needed a QR code from it, so that was really nice to just hold that instead of going into a different app and opening up the phone every time I needed to use it. And I know you can map it to like an infinite amount of things, and I just haven't really done that yet. In the first few days, I tried having it mapped to the camera or having the flashlight turn on, but for me, having Do Not Disturb mapped to that button actually is not bad at all, and I actually don't mind now that long press to turn that action on, whatever you pick. A quick press will tell you, well, especially for me, whether Do Not Disturb is on or off, and then that long press will just pop that onto Do Not Disturb or take it off. And you know what? That is about it. The first impressions of this phone in the first 7 days have been really, really good. I enjoy using it. I don't have any complaints. And there's things like that new USB-C port that I thought would be a massive game changer, but so far it's just a charging port. It's just a different cable to plug it in, so nothing massively dramatic. There is one thing though that I do really like, which I've noticed, is that the haptics on this phone seem to be really good. So when you get a message or you get a phone call, I don't know if they've changed the haptics on this year, but if they have, it's really noticeable. And if they haven't, and don't know what I'm on about. But like I said, the iPhone 15 Pro Max overall so far has been really fun to use. It's been like, you know when you go on holiday and in that first 7 days, it's like the best time of your life. That's what it's been like so far with the 15 Pro Max. And I was a bit hesitant about getting it in white titanium, but I think I've absolutely made the right choice. Natural titanium, fine, but white titanium, that is absolutely the one. Let me know your thoughts though on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and whether you like it or if it's been worth an upgrade for you. I upgraded from the 14 Pro Max and I was thinking maybe it's not anything to upgrade, but actually I've noticed kind of like a big difference in upgrading, and just that battery life alone is absolutely worth it. And if you enjoyed the video, then subscribe to the channel as well, because that does really help. And if you do all of that, then I will see you later.